Hi, I'm Chef Gail Sokol and welcome to my kitchen. Today we're making something a little different. It's a blueberry Earl Grey Bougatsa. What's a Bougatsa, you ask? It is a Greek custard pie made with phyllo dough, and it's filled with delicious custard. And my riff on it is I have infused the milk and heavy cream with Earl Grey tea, and we're going to be adding some fresh blueberries. It's amazing, served warm. You could serve it for a dessert, for a brunch, for breakfast, for a snack, anytime. Now, before we get started, I'd like you to click that notification button because I want you to be a subscriber. I really like it when you subscribe because that way you don't miss any of my videos or tips because they're really good. They're really, really good and you will enjoy them. So, a Bougatsa. It's a Greek pastry and you have to deal with phyllo dough. And phyllo dough can be a little tricky, but don't be afraid of it. So phyllo dough comes in the frozen section, unless you get it fresh, the frozen section of most grocery stores. We are going to be baking this in a 9-inch square baking pan. I have sprayed it with nonstick cooking spray, and I'm putting it on a sheet pan. I have preheated my oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, when I deal with my phyllo, I put it on a sheet pan and I cover it with plastic wrap so it doesn't get wet. And then I take a moistened kitchen towel, clean kitchen towel, and lay it over it so that it doesn't dry out. Because it's so thin, it can dry out in a second. So I have melted in the microwave about 1.5 sticks of unsalted butter. And we are going to use between 10 and 12 sheets of frozen thawed phyllo. So I'm going to take one sheet now, and it's literally like taking pages out of an old book because that's what it looks like. All right, and you have to be careful. Sometimes the sheets stick together and they're ripping a little bit. Don't worry because a Bougatsa is very forgiving. I'm going to start from the other side because it's stuck. Sometimes it's the way it's made with the manufacturer. Sometimes you'll get a few sheets that stick together. No worries. Do not worry because our Bougatsa will be gorgeous anyway. So if it does stick together, take whatever sheet you have, lay it down, and with a pastry brush, we're just going to sort of Jackson Pollock it with a little butter. You know that artist used to like throw paint around and get like millions of dollars for his paintings. He always had a cigarette in his mouth. So he was very famous. So we're just going to brush all over with the butter. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to scrunch it like you would an accordion. Scrunch like an accordion. Now, Bougatsas are there's all different types of Bougatsas. This is the way I like to make my Bougatsa. See how it's sort of just like ruffled? I'm just going to put it right in here. And you don't want to push it down. I'm going to take another sheet, and this one came out pretty well. And I'm going to butter that. All right. Again, we're going to Jackson Pollock it. It looks like a lot of butter, and we may not use all of it, but I'd rather have it than have our phyllo dry out and say, oh my goodness, we need butter. So you can always, I've also used oil. If you want to use vegetable oil, you can do that as well. For spanakopita, sometimes when I make that, I will use olive oil if I don't want to use too much butter. But this tastes so much better. Better with butter. All right, so we're going to do that. And then we're going to do it again. We're going to do the scrunching, the scrunching, the scrunching, just scrunch, scrunch. Nothing fancy schmancy, just scrunch. And we're going to keep going. All right, we're going to take up to 12 pieces of phyllo. And some Bougatsas are made in a larger pan. I just wanted to give you, if you wanted to just try it and make it and just give it a shot, just make it in a small pan. See how you like it? You can always double it. Some Bougatsas also have a custard that's made on the stove, and then you cool it down and put it into the phyllo crust. But the easiest ones, you just make the custard in a bowl, dairy, eggs, and flavorings, and then just put it over the phyllo. But we're going to pre-bake this, okay? See what I just did? So I just did that, and I'm going to move my phyllo over. But you want to keep it fluffy, meaning you don't want to push it down. Do not push your phyllo down. You want it to be nice and ruffly, and you want to add a lot of depth to it. All right. It's a three-dimensional custard tart. It's not a flat custard tart. At least mine's not. All right. And if we want to use more than 10 to 12 sheets, we can. You're just going to sort of keep putting them down. And as I get to the bottom of this pan, I'm going to sprinkle 3/4 of a cup of my blueberries. So I'm going to be using 1.5 cups of fresh blueberries. Make sure that they are dry after you wash them. You can put them over a kitchen towel and just gently rub them. I like fresh blueberries here. All right. So I have lost track of my phyllo. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think I may be headed closer to 12. So I like to make 10 to 12 depending on the size of the pan. And if you lose track, the more phyllo, the better. Keep it going. Once I get to the bottom, I'm going to add some blueberry. Okay, and I'm not pushing down. I'm going to take half my blueberries, and I'm just going to scatter. Scatter. Okay, I see a little stem. Take that off. Get off of there. And just a little bit there. Whoop, get in there. And then keep going. Another, maybe 6 more. All right, so once I do that, I am going to bake this 400 degrees for about 20 minutes. It's going to get nice and crispy and brown, and don't be afraid of it getting crispy and brown. But before I put it into the oven, I want to show you what I'm doing. So again, gather. All right. I'm just going to push it down. So pretty. And then the custard's going to sort of get everything sort of jiggy with itself, and it's going to be beautiful. Now, I told you I took 1 cup of milk, 1 cup of whole milk, half a cup of cream, and I took 2 Earl Grey tea bags. After I heated the milk and the cream in a saucepan to the simmer, I added my tea bags right into that mixture. And I let them steep for 10 minutes, just like you would a cup of tea. And after that, now I'm counting this is my second one, right? In this direction, in this side, on the top. And then, after 10 minutes, I took my tea bags and I squeezed them out. I wanted to get all that flavor from that Earl Grey out into the milk and cream. And then I discarded those tea bags. And then I just let that cream and milk cool down, and it's in my saucepan now, ready to go. All right. So I'm going to cover this, the bottom of this, and there's a reason why I'm telling you this, because we're going to sprinkle the top with more blueberries and then a little cinnamon sugar. Everything's better with cinnamon sugar. So we're just going to scatter a little butter. And you don't even need that much butter, but just take your wide pastry brush. I always like to do a wide one because it covers more surface area, and I won't be ripping my Bougatsa. So just Shimmy, shake, back and forth, shimmy, shake, back and forth. Some people scroll the phyllo, and some people do it another way. I'm going to do one more sheet, and I think we're done. And if anyone's been counting, let me know how many sheets I use, because sometimes I go crazy with the phyllo because I love working with it so much, I forget. I love it. I love it. And then this phyllo that I don't use, I will actually refold up, put back in its original plastic container, or wrap it in plastic wrap and refreeze it. Date it, label it, and refreeze it for the next time you want to make spanakopita, or the next time you want to make something special with it. So just go shimmy, shimmy, shake here. And I'm just going to do that. Going to tuck all our babies in. Tuck, tuck, tuck. Tuck, 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 tuck. We're going to do the rest of our blueberries. Rest of our blueberries. And remember, the Earl Grey is going to come in with the custard. All right. And those blueberries are going to bake right down. It's going to look beautiful. Like a Greek custard blueberry extravaganza. And I'm going to take 2 tablespoons of granulated sugar, half a teaspoon of ground cinnamon, and I've mixed them together. And now I'm going to sprinkle all over. This is before our custard goes on. We need to bake this, because if we put the custard on now, it's going to get soggy. We don't want soggy. We want crispy phyllo, crispy, crispy. So we're just going to do that. 20 minutes in the oven, and then we're ready to custard it. So my Bougatsa has been in the oven at 400 degrees for about 30 minutes. I took it out, and now it's custard time. So in a bowl with a whisk, I have half a cup of granulated sugar, half a teaspoon of cinnamon, and then I have my Earl Grey infused 1 cup of whole milk, half a cup of heavy cream. It's cooled down. My tea bags have been discarded. And then I have a teaspoon of pure vanilla extract, and 2 whole eggs and 2 yolks. Just put that right in there. And now, just want to beat that up, and we're going to put this back in the oven for 20 to 30 minutes at 350. So I've kept my oven on, but lowered it from 400 to 350. Oh, I can smell the custard. It smells good with a little bit of that Earl Grey. Now, if you want, you can pour this into a measuring cup. It'll be a little bit easier for you to pour it over the hot Bougatsa. I'm going to pour it in there. Okay. And I'm just going to use my whisk just to guide me. And you're just going to pour this everywhere. Okay, gently. You don't want it to overflow. This is our custard part. It's almost like a bread pudding in a way, a Greek bread pudding, but phyllo is the bread. So much better than bread. And you're going to bake it until the custard is firm and the phyllo is golden brown. And then we're going to dust it with some confectioner's sugar and a little tea dust, ground up Earl Grey. So I'm going to put this back in for 20 to 30 minutes until the custard is set. That just came out of the oven. If you feel it's still a little eggy and it's a little loose, keep it in the oven for about another 8 to 10 minutes. So about 20 to 30 minutes. I have my Earl Grey dust, which I put an inside of an Earl Grey tea bag into a coffee grinder and mixed it with a couple tablespoons of confectioner's sugar. It's beautiful. And I'm going to wait till this cools down, and then I'm going to cut you a slice. So I'm slicing into my Bougatsa. It is cool enough, and I did not wait till it was cold, so it's a little warm. and it's a little blue from the blueberry, and it's custardy, and I have dusted it with my confectioner's sugar and tea dust. And now we're going to cut into a slice and see what this is like. Oh, it's a big slice. Oh, it smells so good. It smells so good. Wait a minute. I want you to see this. Oh, look at that. Look at that. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's my Bougatsa. My Bougatsa, my custardy Bougatsa. Have it for breakfast. Have it for brunch. Have it anytime you want. But I hope you try a Bougatsa. It's really, really cool. And if you add the blueberries and the Earl Grey tea-infused cream and milk, yummy. I hope you become a subscriber. Till next time.